and solutions. Jumping off of our previous sessions, where we talked to different movers in the NGOs, foundations, and nutrition spaces, in this session, we will be talking to experts who work in the intersections of these spaces. So tonight, we will have our guest experts discuss the best practices of foundations in their efforts to address nutrition concerns across various communities, as well as the incubation processes for various solutions to address food security. And without further ado, I am happy to introduce our first speaker, who will be sharing their best practices and the scale of nutritional needs of their partner communities. Mr. Austere Panadero is the Executive Director of the Zuellig Family Foundation. He has a wealth of experience in ensuring that local governments have the capacity to effectively deliver public services and become accountable, transparent, and results-based. He has worked for close to 3 decades in various capacities at the Department of Interior and Local Government, where he was Undersecretary from 2007 until he retired in 2018. An industrial engineering graduate of the University of the Philippines, he began working in the government sector as a technical staff of the Development Academy of the Philippines, where he eventually became its vice president. And in the DILG, he ensured the continuity of program and policy implementation amid multiple leadership changes. So for being an exemplary public official who has dedicated his life to improving local governance, the Ateneo de Manila University conferred to him the 2016 Government Service Award. Welcome, Sir Austere. The virtual stage is yours.
Maraming salamat, Ms. Rachel. Good evening, everyone. And thank you for this opportunity to share with you what we're doing at the Zuellig Family Foundation with respect to our work on nutrition. The foundation has been working with close to 5 provinces, 3 cities, and several towns over the last 3 to 4 years, and I think the experience there is very enriching, and as well as this would be the basis of responding to the question that was propounded by the Summer Institute, the Zero Hunger Lab, that asks specifically what are the scaling up strategies. So we just move into the okay, next slide please. Let me just put this into context. So what I'll do is really just give you an overview of probably the national challenge that we have today, both on hunger and nutrition, but zero in really on nutrition, especially the first 1,000 days issues. As you would know, and you can further go deeper into this as part of the coursework, or your interest is the country or our legislative branch passed a new law on the first 1,000 days, and this is a very it's a landmark legislation that really created the space for a more intensive work on the first 1,000 days of pregnancy, because this is really the window that work on nutrition has to start, rather than wait some time in the future when the infants and or babies already are growing up. Okay. So let me just again let me just show this, just to, I think you know what the magnitude of the problem today with respect to hunger. And here we'll use the Social Weather Station latest survey, and it says the red spaces there indicate that hunger is indeed getting to be a major concern. The right side shows you the graph on the stunting prevalence on the 0 to 23 months, and this is the first 1,000 days, as well as the wasting of the 0 to 23 months. And the figures are shown there, and the trajectory is, this is 2019, mind you. And the worrisome part is that if the hunger the situation further deteriorates, these lines might move up, and which will create a bigger problem for the country. In fact, several of our economists, our social scientists are already calling attention to this concern. This is the work that we do in the CFF to help address stunting and wasting, because we believe these are the critical markers. No? Ito talaga yung kondisyon na kailangan nating gampanan o bantayan at bigyan ng kaukulang interventions para hindi palalong lumala ang sitwasyon na ito. Next slide, please. Now, and this is now let me just segue therefore to starting with scaling up. The matter of nutrition is, at the end of the day, is a local government concern. The LGU being the integrator at the local level. There is really an increasing recognition that nutrition is not only a matter of a feeding concern. Para magampanan natin ang issue ng nutrisyon, local governments as key integrators must be really able to link this up with the food security and the food systems that are essential in generating the nutritious food that are required in all stages of the pregnancy, all the way to the nurturing of our infants. It is also essential that health services are available in all stages of the development of the pregnancy, as well as of the development of our infants and babies. And that in all of this, our local governments are carefully tracking the outcomes of the pregnant mothers and their children in the first 1,000 days. Therefore, it is essential that we have leaders at the local level that are really committed to it, who understands the critical knobs, as we would call it, on what exactly to do at various stages of this life course, using reliable data for decision making, and in all, in close to real time decision making, and be clear on the targets and make sure that these are all understood by their constituents. Ito yung pinaka-critical dito, no? In the scaling up of the work on nutrition to address this problem, the local governments play a very critical role indeed. Let me move to the next slides, just to give you an idea of what needs to be done. I think the context of this session is very clear. No? Para bang, what are the challenges in scaling up known solution? The problem of nutrition has been with us for quite some time, and we thank those who are studying this and has been really looking deeper into all these issues, because the way or the solution to this problem is also adequately known. In fact, there is a Philippine Plan of Action on Nutrition that guides the work here. There are things that we call nutrition-specific programs, and there are those that we call nutrition-sensitive programs. Of course, the more critical ones are really the nutrition-specific programs, wherein there is a need to ensure that pregnant women during the course of the pregnancy are afforded prenatal care, at least 4 visits during this period. And there is postpartum care, there is lactation support. Hopefully, there is a exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months, and nutrition tracking is adequately done for both mother and child. Supplementation happens for the next for the first 6 months after birth, and there is family planning advice and guidance, diet diversification, and vaccination, and in case of severe situation, acute malnutrition rehabilitation services are afforded. Uh, but these are not enough. I think over the years, as we in CFF and other partners and other agencies have also discovered, kailangan din itong suportahan ng mga nutrition-sensitive programs. And that is by ensuring that there is a adequate behavior adoption that happens as we provide support to our target nutritionally at risk pregnant women or infants and babies. And that social protection services are likewise provided, as well as a water and sanitation, and in perhaps even some livelihood support, especially targeted to those who are really needing them the most. Uh, Programs for parents and caregivers, likewise, in terms of social services, are also necessary to complement the nutrition-specific programs. The challenge here, really, as I think, and the main message I want to provide is, while the solutions are known, the main challenge is that there is a need to simultaneously implement the nutrition specific and nutrition sensitive program so that we get the maximum benefit from all of this. Kung minsan ang at kadalasan, and in our experience with the local governments, sabi ng mga mayor, akala namin ang nutrisyon ay feeding lang. So hintayin muna natin na may mga infants or babies na at saka na lang pakainin. I think at the end of the whole experience, everyone realized actually, and you need to start even at the pregnancy stage. Maraming local governments na ngayon ang gumagawa ng mga actively providing services to these nutritionally at risk women who are pregnant, as well as the nutritionally at risk babies. I don't want to go into the full details of this, but you can check this in your uh, uh, through the internet. Close to NCR, I think a good program at the moment is the Karinderya para sa kalusugan ni Chikiting at Buntis sa Malabon po. This is a very interesting program that has already shown good results, that focuses on good pregnancy tracking and the effort for the first 1,000 days. And also here in NCR, there are NGOs that are doing programs that uh, are, micro enterprise in nature, but ensures that adequate food, properly or nutritious food, are accessible to the poor segments of the community by way of ensuring that the supply chain, from the farm to the karinderya, gets provided to the marginalized sector. And this is under the Kasagana cooperative work that is being done in several LGUs in Metro Manila. These are just some of the examples that are worth looking into. I'm showing this to also impress in this discussion that while local government is your integrator to provide both nutrition specific and nutrition sensitive programs, there are also possibilities of collaborating with other sectors in terms of creatively putting together programs addressing the needs of our segments of the society that are really nutritionally at risk. So ito po yung unang mensahe lang dito. No? There are known solutions, both nutrition specific, nutrition sensitive, but they have to come in as a package. And LGUs are the ones that are really in the forefront of this and are, ika nga sila ang first responder, and it is their mission to find ways by which they can be provided. Putting it the other way, next slide, please. This one, it just shows you that yung intervention over a life cycle is also known. And as I mentioned earlier, there are appropriate times when this should be done. Ang challenge talaga lang naman dito is because we all know these interventions is how you effectively integrate all the services of, say, a local government, from the agriculture office to the health office to the social welfare office, so that it can have greater impact. Kung minsan, operationally, ang nakita po namin nang nagsimula kami ng proyekto sa mga ibang LGU, pag pinag-usapan natin sino ba ang nutritionally at risk, na kung saan iyan din ang target ng ating nutrisyon, at sila din dapat ang target ng ating social welfare, at sila din yung target ng ating agriculture office, sila rin yung target ng ating health office. Nung nagsimula, kadalasan ay napakaraming listahan. Because everyone tries to generate their own set of targets. While that's helpful, a more impactful intervention is to actually collaborate and agree who are really the priorities, knowing that to be effective, the response to malnutrition requires the contribution of everyone from the entire local government. Yan yung challenge. And also not only local governments, because a large portion of it also comes from the national government. So I'm introducing now another player here, the national government. If you notice, there are necessary food supplements that at times LGUs will be hard put to really acquire. The diet and micronutrients supplementation and complementation, they come in the form of packs of commodities that are procured by national government and given to the local government. The issue there at times is really a lot of logistics, ensuring that it reaches the target LGUs and therefore the households of the nutritionally at risk pregnant women at the appropriate time. And that is a challenge that continues to be a concern, that continues to be something that all the players, local and national, are trying to improve the system to make that really a seamless one. Next slide. So in the concrete, therefore, what are the scaling up challenges? Okay. So what we saw on the ground, and this is also supported by a World Bank study just completed in 2021. So kung pag-usapan po natin, so ano ngayon ang talagang hinaharap ng mga challenge ng ating LGUs in scaling up? By the way, let's put this into context lang again. When we say scaling up, this is really about ensuring that hopefully all the LGUs in 32 provinces that are being identified in the Philippine Plan of Action on Nutrition are able to do the things, both nutrition sensitive and nutrition specific services, they're all able to do all of those adequately. So you can imagine that in some places in the country, some LGUs are able to do it, but not in all of the 32 provinces. And assuming na lang that there are 20 towns per province, more or less, we are talking of around 600 municipalities that are the target of the so-called scaling up. So yun yung magnitudes lang ng scaling up. But let's look at on a per LGU level, ang main challenge talaga ng ating mga LGUs in terms of being able to integrate as well as deliver all these services are as follows. Unang-una, as I mentioned, itong micronutrient supplements. Kung minsan, kadalasan, bilang pala minsan, kadalasan ito po'y hindi sapat. At yung supply chain, as I mentioned, is still something that really needs a lot of improvement. Yung feeding, which are mostly held in schools, uh, as I also pointed out earlier, is okay, but we missed out on the first 1,000 days. Yung first 1,000 days, this starts at pregnancy, the 9 months, all the way to 2 years old. Wala pa ho yun sa eskwelahan. So there's a need to really expand the intervention all the way to pregnancy. The inadequate number of full-time nutrition action officers as well as health workers. Now, these two items here, no, the health workers, nutrition workers, and nutrition action officers, they're the frontliners. In the parlance of the LGU, they're called barangay health workers and barangay nutrition scholars. They're all volunteers. So you can imagine already the kind of human resource challenge that are being faced by our local governments. Some are able to continuously provide, but most have really challenges here in terms of both number, competence, as well as motivation. Maririnig po natin at patuloy itong ginagampanan, binibigyan din naman ng kaukulang pansin ng ating mga LGU, yung sapat na suporta, be it in as honoraria or as allowance. In fact, what we saw that really made an impact, say in the case, say for example, of Tacorong City, ang DLGU nagdesisyon na lang, kailangan na lang namin siguro silang i-hire para talagang we can really ensure their full productivity as well as really invest on their training. So these are really one of the main challenges in scaling up, the adequacy of workers at the community level. Of course, budget. Probably I'll explain it a little bit earlier. LGUs, hindi lang naman nutrisyon ang kanilang binabantayan. Marami pang iba. So it needs really a good strategy to ensure that when we say adequate, the budget that will allow you to get to your outcomes. Lahat naman po may budget, pero yung iba ay kulang nga lang at hindi sapat upang to transform the current problem into the kind of targets or outcomes that one expects a particular community should be. No? The other one is a data. Isa pa ito sa major challenge. I think the one I can share with you immediately here as we're talking to the mayors and governors, they will say, I never thought it is a problem because the data that I saw, which is 1 year old, did not really, clearly show that the magnitude of the problem. And indeed, that was the situation because our data generation system at the moment is really, it takes quite a long period of time to produce the data, when in fact, what is needed by the LGUs is almost near real time. Kasi kung nutritionally at risk, at makikita mo lang yan after 12 months, nakapanganak na sigurado yung buntis at hindi natin nalaman na siya pala ay nutritionally at risk. So this is really a challenge which as part of the interventions now, both government and some of our partner NGOs, we're trying to help develop the system, and hopefully, I think if some of the participants in this webinar might have good ideas on how to use technology to facilitate effective and near real-time data gathering so that situations on the ground are effectively captured at the right time, processed, and utilized for resource allocation decision. The other one is really engaging the communities. As the experience also showed, itong usapin sa nutrition, this is fought at the household at the barangay and community levels. So yung engagement ng ating mga kasamahan at ating mga iba pang organization at the barangay level is very critical. The one that we saw that are really effective and sustainable are the ones that have really active community participation, not only in nutrition tracking, not only in Operation Timbang and the likes, but even actually in food production. In fact, there is a greater call now, and I think I saw Sea Oil as part of the sponsors of this webinar. We're working closely with Sea Oil in Sarangani to also integrate nutrition and food systems interventions. Next slide, please. So I guess in conclusion, let me just point out, in all of this work that we do, we noticed that leadership is key into all of this. If you recall, I started with also saying that since the LGU is the key integrator of all the nutrition specific, nutrition sensitive interventions, it goes without saying na yung ang pamunuan or the pinuno in all our local governments, local chief executives, is really a key ingredient into this whole process. The challenge, however, is compounded because of the disruptions that we are facing today, and this is the more I think urgent challenge that in fact in the 3 cities that we're working with on nutrition, the services were adversely affected because those who are doing nutrition work, as I said, the health worker, the barangay health worker, the BNS, are also tapped to do COVID. Which is really lang the way to go. I mean, but because of that, it has also created another set of problems. So yung COVID pandemic is a real challenge because the question that we need to answer there, and I hope you can also suggest ways of dealing with that short term and long term, is how do you continue providing the regular services on nutrition at the same time also being able to respond to pandemic, to COVID. There are ways that some our LGUs are adopting, but it is an area that continues to be a challenge to everyone. The climate change and natural disasters, yung mga bagyo. I think we all know this. Itong usapin ng pagkain tuwing may evacuation, this one is really a major issue. So especially those who are pregnant, and some of our LGUs have already made adjustments. In fact, there are good practices that pregnant women and infants are being provided with what we call the minimum intervention on nutrition even in evacuation centers. No? So but then still it is a challenge to our local governments. The two other challenges that I'd like to flag to you is things that are part of our own political processes, as well as in our adjustments in our local governance. One, of course, is that there is an upcoming national election. These are also both, well, we can call it disruption, but it might also be an opportunity wherein fresh insights and leadership priorities can now be also mainstream into the agenda of those who will be assuming the leadership role at our local governments. Gagawa na naman tayo ng panibagong health and boards, mga local health board, nutrition committees every after election, and it is equally both a challenge and an opportunity. Yeah, but by and large, it is an opportunity for fresh insights on what to do better, starting with the new administration in July of 2022 at the local levels. And hopefully, there are new advocates that can pursue the work. The first box, the full devolution and local financing, I think, I don't know if most of you are aware of the the Garcia Mandanas Supreme Court decision of the Supreme Court on this case, where the national government has already indicated the shift to what is known as a full devolution. Incidentally, what it means really is that the era of our LGUs in 2022 will increase by roughly almost 50% because of the new way that the internal revenue allotment will be computed. And as we all know, it is automatically released. So in 2022, our LGUs will have more resources. So I included it as a challenge because it is an opportunity at the same time, because it is a good time to really advocate for more investments in nutrition to address or more investment to address the nutrition issues. First 1,000 days, etc. Napakalaking oportunidad po nito na may dagdag at hopefully sapat na resources ang ating mga LGUs upang magkaroon pa ng kapunduhan ang ating programa sa nutrisyon at maibigay ng sapat ang nutrition specific at ang nutrition sensitive services that are really vital in the first 1,000 days and onward to the first 5 years of our children. So these are the key elements that I'd like to share with you this evening, and hopefully this can generate more interaction as well as fresh ideas on how